Hello, everybody. Today we're going to paint a sunset in a cute little Italian village with a big church in the middle, and you're gonna see that the colors that we're gonna paint here are all gonna be different because there is a sunset going on, and therefore the light is gonna be completely different than if you have a full sun scene. And you're gonna see it throughout the whole painting. I'm using a big brush here to wet the entire scene because, like I mentioned, every single color is going to be reflecting the color of the sky, which is exactly what happens in nature. There is even a term for it. It's called the golden hour. This is not golden hour, by the way. This is sunset, which is a completely different use of the color. In fact, we are giving the sky a yellowish orange, then it's gonna go into the reds, and we want to make like a dramatic, a little bit more of a dramatic colors and atmosphere. And as you can see, I'm using reds here now, which is the color towards the horizon. And these colors are going to blend and run into the whole landscape. So into those houses, everywhere there's gonna be a substrate of yellow, brown. I'm trying to find like a neutral. I even put some violet here, which is gonna be working exactly like it's supposed to be for our shadows. So I'm actually like darkening this because the darker side is gonna be our little village. That's gonna be the darkest part of the whole painting. And at the end of the painting, you will see that actually the darkest part will be the cypress trees, which will have no transparency, and therefore they're not gonna be in light at all. But they're gonna be the darkest part, and I'm gonna paint them for last. And I'm trying to put some clouds here, which are already red because the sun shines just right through them and makes them red, like it happens in nature. And I have to be very careful not to overpower this red because it is still a sky. So you can put any color you want in a sky, but you have to keep in mind that that is going to be the lightest part of the whole painting. So don't oversaturate skies ever, unless it's like a special painting of something. But typically in nature, the sky is the part that's the lightest. And here I think I'm overdoing this. I'm overworking now the sky, but let's keep going. So this Italian village, I honestly, this is a picture I took, and I honestly forgot what is this Italian village. But what I wanted to capture here is I wanted to document every single building as it is at sunset. And I think I partially succeeded in this. But the main point here is that we are going to create contrast with the cypress trees and the village and the sky. So this whole painting is about creating contrast. And every brush stroke here should support the sense of relative calm of the day, because the day is going to be closed. That's it. This is the sunset, and then the night starts, which for Italians it's a new, like sort of like a day, because they love to spend their nights outside, especially in summer when it's really hot. In the evening it cools down, and Italians go into their plazas and to get something to drink or to eat. So it's kind of a celebration time for Italians. And there is quite a few of these villages in the hills of Tuscany, and some of them are very popular, like Pienza or like Monteriggioni or what's the other one? Casole d'Elsa. It's one of my favorite ones. If you happen to go there, it's really magic, because Casole d'Elsa has two sides to it. There is a central plaza, and then there is an east side and a west side. So on the west side, you see a sunset like this, with these little houses and everything. And on the west side, there's beautiful views on the Tuscan hills. So if you happen to be in Tuscany, make a trip to Casole d'Elsa. It's just magical. Also, a friend of mine lives there, so that's a plus. And his ex-wife has a ice cream place there, which is really, really good. So what I'm painting here, I'm applying some brown tones here, especially to the church, but also to the houses. But let's talk about the church for a second. So this church the style of this church is called Romanesque. And Italy had a huge period of time. I think it's close to 1400 years, in which all the churches and everything was built in Romanesque style. What does it mean? So Romanesque, as the word says, it basically means it comes from the Roman Empire. So what did the Romans teach the other architects that came later to use? Well, Romans were famous for inventing a technique that was called, in Latin, it's called opus lateritium, and basically it means the work of the bricks. So they invented this technique, and lateritium just means bricks. We call them bricks today. And it is exactly what it is. It's basically burning bricks in an oven to make them usable in construction. And the Romans also perfected the way of laying the bricks, so walls and ceilings and everything will be stronger. So herringbones patterns, for example, that's classic Roman architecture. And they passed it on to the next generations. And a lot of churches in Italy are entire built with these brown bricks. And that's it. There is only the bricks. And the style is called Romanesque. The Roman Empire had several stages in Italy over many hundreds of years. And the last Roman Empire, I think it ended around 500 AC, Anno Domini, which is 500 after Christ. Okay, not before. But then there was a short period of time, it's like 500 years after the Roman Empire, that the Byzantines came over in Italy, and that's where a lot of the mosaics in Italian churches come from, because they were imported as far as art from the Byzantine Empire, which was Turkey. But then after that, in around the year 1100, or around the year 1000, this style started to be very popular, because we are seeing that there was the what was later called the Sacred Roman Empire, which was a second, almost like a renaissance of the Roman Empire, but not really. And they started building lots of churches with this kind of style. So when you walk through Italy and you see a quaint little village on a Tuscan hill, you're gonna see that there is maybe a church in the middle, and it's brown. It looks almost bare. Even the churches, when you go into a church, and it's an ancient church, it's gonna look very bare, and it's gonna look just built with bricks. And you might wonder, like, why didn't they put something more advanced like marble or some other material? Well, the reason is because it was a style back then. It was supposed to be bare. It was supposed to be extremely stripped of all the distractions, so that people would be devoted to God and not get distracted by anything external. And as you can see, I'm applying more brown here to the bell tower, because that's exactly how it looks like in the Italian villages. So nothing fancy, just brown. By the way, if you're still watching and enjoy this tutorial and would like to support the channel, you will find my link to my Etsy shop in the description below. And most of these tutorials are available there for you to order as prints, but I can also paint them as originals. Just send me an email there on Etsy and we'll start talking. And I can also do a custom watercolor for you from any picture, any photo you have, including portraits, pet portraits, anything you like. And if you notice that the light is kind of going down into the village and the houses and everything, it has like a reddish, I wish I used a little bit more red inside the village, but maybe we're gonna do it later. And I'm just applying more brown here. This is all gonna be about these buildings reflecting the sky. That's the whole purpose of the painting. So those cypress trees that you can kind of see in the middle, you're gonna see them at the end really nicely. But those that you see in the middle there, those are going to be the main focal point. And they are among the most recognizable symbols of the Italian landscape. And they're super tall and very elegant. They're like silhouettes. So they add to every single landscape a huge value, because they pop up suddenly from houses or in between some hills, and suddenly you have these giant trees popping up, and they are protected by the UNESCO. And if I'm not mistaken, the entire Tuscan landscape, which is a construction, by the way, it's not natural. The entire Tuscan landscape is protected by UNESCO. The way how we know that this is not natural is because there are famous painters, among one of them, Leonardo da Vinci, which you might have heard of. He painted a lot of nature in Tuscany. And we're talking about mid 1400. I don't want to say something stupid, but I think in mid 1400, that's where Leonardo, and late 1400, that's where Leonardo was very productive. And he was painting a lot. And he painted a lot of Tuscan nature, trees, hills, old cars. This is all in, not just in museums, but this is in famous paintings. He loved to do this. He loved to put really mundane things in a painting that was depicting maybe like a noble woman or somebody very important. Well, in the background, he would put like really mundane things, like, you know, a little village with houses that are falling apart. And even the Mona Lisa, which is at the Louvre in Paris, the Mona Lisa in the background, you really have to buy some book or something that shows that detail, because there is no way to see it live. If you go to the Louvre in Paris and you go to see the Mona Lisa, you're too far away to appreciate this. So you don't see the landscape in the background, but there is a landscape in the background, and there is these weird trees. They're pines, but they don't exist anymore. So the landscape, to go back to my original point, the landscape has changed, and the Tuscan landscape with these tall cypress trees is actually sort of a recent construction. Somebody imagined this and said, well, these look really nice. They really cast a really nice shadow. So why don't we just start planting more of these? And so it was. I think we are like in mid 1800s. yeah, mid 1800s, they started changing the landscape. And it also had to do with the agricultural revolution, which prompted to use fields for agriculture, but it was more of agriculture that was a little bit more in mass. So it wasn't just a single farm producing something, but it was a conglomerate of farms producing maybe a certain kind of crop. And so they deforested a lot of areas, which then they stopped doing. So anyways, this is the history of little detour about the Tuscan landscape. So as you can see, I keep going here with the browns, and I keep applying more and more browns because everything is reflecting the light, and the light is reddish. And so if you shine a red light or a yellow light in this case to a little village, you are going to have you're going to get these brown shades of color. Some are a little bit darker, some are a little bit lighter. You have to kind of feel it. I'm going around these cypress trees here because I don't want to. Well, I guess I could use the brown there, but I just want to leave them like that. And I'm having fun with these little houses. Everything looks a little bit darker. I lost some lines there, so I'm trying to figure out this roof, for example. And that's okay. The roof is also very red, even though in real life it's kind of brown. And we're gonna paint the cypress trees later. So the dark color for those cypress trees is gonna come later, and it's gonna cover where I just went. So don't be afraid to use watercolors, because don't be afraid to go over areas that are gonna be dark anyways, because it's not gonna show. So it's fine as it is. So as you can see, the shadows are never black. I'm never using black here. And we also discussed this many times, that black is kind of an emergency color. It is not true that famous painters didn't use black. That is completely not true. One painter that I can think of, who is from Maine, the state of Maine, and Andrew Wyeth. Andrew Wyeth had painted really beautiful watercolors. Well, they were like mixed techniques, but he, especially towards the end of his life, he used a lot of black, and the effects were fabulous. We have to say that Andrew Wyeth was kind of a unique painter, because his paintings always started with lots of drawings. So his subjects, when he picked a subject, he loved to first make lots of sketches, and they were quick. Like you can see it. I have several books about Andrew Wyeth, and the sketches are super quick. Technically speaking, one sketch could have been 1 minute, and he already put this whole scene down. You can see there's a cow on the right, there's a field on the left, and there's a house on the field. But he would do this in a matter of a minute, because it goes so fast. The signs that the pencil leaves on the paper are just phenomenal. They're just super fast. So I like to do these kind of paintings too, the drawings, before I paint a landscape, because I want to see where to put things from composition point of view. And I think he was also trying to fit composition in it. But anyways, enough about Andrew Wyeth. Buy some books about him, because he's super interesting to study. His drawings are phenomenal. I'm applying some shadows under the roofs here. I'm applying more shadows. I'm a little shy in this painting. I don't know why. I was a little taken back. Maybe I didn't want to like mess it up, because the colors here are really nice, and they're supposed to be all on the yellow, red, brownish kind of side, but I didn't want to make it too dark because I still wanted to see the little houses. So it's kind of a long process, and it's kind of I wish I could go faster, but I didn't really want to mess it up. And one thing that I possibly messed up is that blue mountain, which was supposed to be a little bit darker. The blue is not bad there, but it was supposed to be a lot darker. But anyways, let's keep going. I'm just applying some more shadows here to the so that we can see the roofs. And as you can see, sometimes it needs to be a little darker, sometimes a little bit lighter. It depends on where the light goes. And I'm eventually going to finish the church, which is going to be a little darker than this, because this is going to be, the church is going to be the thing in the background, so it's going to be darker. Oh, this is another important thing. So at sunset, so while during regular daylight, things that are in the background, they tend to be lighter and going to the blue, like Leonardo told us. So anything that's in the background, it's supposed to be blue, going to the blue. So if it's we already talked about this, but a guy with a yellow jacket that I'm painting, if he's close to me, the jacket is gonna be yellow. This is during daylight. If I take the guy and I put him 100 feet away from me, and I step back and I look at his jacket, I want to paint that jacket a little greenish, not yellow, but a little on the green side. Why? Because we are adding blue to it, because there's a distance. And if he's really far away, then I might even like put green, just regular green, and then a little dot of yellow, just to make sure that yellow is still there. So I'm tackling the cypress trees with a really dark blue. I think this is Prussian blue, which works very well with a sunset. And I'm going down, making my first layer of for the cypress trees. But they're gonna be extremely dark. I'm not using black again, because I want some transparency on those trees too. I want some of that color from the paper to come through, so it shows that there is a vibrance in the air. And I'm going down with this is gonna be a very flat surface, surprisingly, because I don't want to show the light during sunset is extremely, how can I say, it's bouncing everywhere. While during the daylight, the light is directed from the sun to the objects. During the sunset, the direction is kind of from all over the place. So I wanna emphasize that here. And also the rooftops, if I'm gonna finish them, but the rooftops, they have to create sort of like a rhythm that leads naturally to the heart of the village. And you want to be, it's a weird thing, I don't know if it happens to you, but every time you look at a painting, the rooftops kind of make your eyes go towards the center of the painting, because they are all following perspective. So you kind of imagine, when you're following the rooftops, you kind of imagine to be walking on them, and then they're gonna be leading you to the center of the painting, which in this case is the steeple of the church. I don't know if that happens to you, but it certainly happens to me. And I'm trying to like balance everywhere here. But these dark cypress trees are really, really nice here. I really like them because they are they're certainly the darkest thing in the whole painting. The only darker thing I should do is that mountain in the background, because that mountain definitely needs to be darker. But we'll see if I'm gonna do it. I honestly think it should be, but it's okay as it is too. And also I have a big tree on the left side, which I'm also going to paint, but that's not a cypress tree. That's a different tree. And you can see that these cypress trees that I just painted, they have a transparency to them, even though I'm using this Prussian blue really, really dark. But they do have a transparency to them because I want to make sure that it doesn't look like a cutout from the paper. It has to look vibrant like a tree. So it's important to have those trees vibrate a little bit with the color in the background, which is the paper in this case. But here I'm even on this tree on the left side, I'm even using some green because that tree is actually very light during the daylight. So I'm even hinting that, yeah, there is probably some leaves there. It's not like a cypress trees that doesn't have leaves. It has needles. Because predominantly a cypress tree is basically a fir tree, like a pine or something. But I think it's in the same family, if I'm not mistaken. But this one, try this at home. Actually, I want you to try all of this at home. But if you can see this big contrast, try this big contrast with the trees and then a sunset. Do like a blue, and I'm using a flat dry brush here to mimic some leaves. I don't know if I'm succeeding here. I think it's not really what I wanted, but we're gonna roll with it because it fits well in the landscape. So I'm happy with it because it actually gave the painting a little bit of vitality. Like the tree signals that the tree is closer to us with that house in front of it. And it's telling us this is the foreground and then the church is the background. So that's a nice effect. I like that because it activates perspective, which we don't have a lot of perspective here. I don't know if you noticed, but if I do that with the tree in the foreground and the bigger house in the foreground on the left, then I know these houses are close to me, and then everything else, those houses on the right side, they are a little bit kind of in the middle, and then the background is the church, and then the way background, that's the mountain. So I already created different layers of perspective, even though there is no official perspective. Well, there is a perspective because the steeple tells us where the perspective is, but there's no official perspective here. There's no focal point, so to speak. But there is a focal point, although we can't really see it. And I'm not even going to try to explain. The focal point is somewhere way outside of the painting on the right side. Okay, so if you really wanted to know. But it's so far away that this scene works much better if it's flat with all these houses here. But I'm just trying to make the shadows underneath the roofs a little bit more clear, so it shows that there is some kind of roof that's coming out and some shadows. I'm really liking it so far because this painting offers a lot of possibilities to get a clear image of how to paint houses during a sunset. And as you can see, you probably learned it by now, you have to add layer after layers, and you kind of have to see where the whole thing is going and then keep going. I see one thing, which is a space in between those two cypress trees in the middle that doesn't have any color. That kind of sticks out and I don't like it. So I hope I'm going to fill it with some color because it's too white. And I left it white because I thought there was gonna be the cypress trees, but they're not. So I better put some color there. And I'm just using my little tiny brush here to kind of mimic what's on those walls, because these are in the foreground, and so you're going to be able to see the bricks that are on the wall, if there are any. And I am very happy with the effect because it shows that there is a texture to the wall. It's not just a little tiny house that's slapped there, but there's a texture to the wall, and that texture tells us that those houses are closer to us than the ones that are in the background. And one rule I'm always using here, if I have like a sliver of something in between two other things, like in between these two cypress trees, that space in between is going to be darker. And usually in a city, the light, because the light is on top, right? So in a city, the lower parts of the buildings are going to be darker than the taller parts, because the light is going to be illuminating the taller parts better than the lower parts. So the higher you go, the more the colors are supposed to be more vibrant than the lower sides of the buildings. However, this inverts at night. So if you are painting a night scene, usually the lights are on the bottom, and on the top of the buildings is very dark because there is no light going there. So basically, yeah, so I'm adding some more shadows here. I'm trying to make the painting a little bit more detailed. Another thing that I have not done and I'm going to do is the church in the background has some windows, and what's in those windows, here we go, I'm going to do it now, it's nothing. It's the thing that's in the windows is empty space. So during sunset it becomes very dark inside, and the light is bouncing everywhere. So inside those windows I'm not going to see anything, and therefore I'm going to use my Prussian blue, extremely dark, so it's an extremely I mix the color with very few droplets of water because I want the pigment to be there. And I'm also doing some shadows here, and see how the bell tower just came alive, because, well, we like those shadows there. We like the fact that there is a lot of contrast, because during sunset you get a lot of contrast on these buildings. And I'm just finishing some details here. This is exactly how I wanted it, actually. So the bell tower looks really, really nice. And I'm finishing some details here. And I'm also putting some more shadows inside the windows. And I'm not completely coloring them black, because there is a little bit of light in those windows, even though it's very hard to see. And I'm doing these little arches, and I'm using my super small brush to do the contours of certain things, and to make sure that details that are there, they come out and they look really nice. This brush is very dry because I don't want any blotches of color there. I just want like a line. I could have even used perhaps a pen, although I don't like to use pens because they don't come in good colors. They only come in like brown and then black, and I don't really want to use black here because it might ruin my thing. So I'm using a brush. Also, a brush leaves nondescript line, so it's a line that kind of breaks, which is beautiful because it's supposed to break to give an impression of maybe there's some bricks missing, or maybe there's some the wall doesn't really go exactly like we wanted it to go. So it breaks the monotony, and it shows that there are many things happening in that house. It's not precise. It's not set in stone, no pun intended, but it's an impression of a house. It's not the house itself. And I have some birds here in the sky, which I'm still learning how to do birds in the sky. But I think this is what we would see, and they are very well defined. So my brush works really overtime here, because that's how they look during sunset. The contrast is really high. And I think I was a little too shy here, because I see the pattern in between those birds. It's almost a square, and they never fly like that unless they are in formation. But birds are more random, especially if they are pigeons, or especially if they are like native species. They rarely fly in formation. But anyways, you learn as you go. And I'm making the mountain a little bit darker, exactly like I said. Okay, I'm very happy about this, because this needed to be done. I just wish I used a little bit more yellow in that mountain, because it's just too blue. I think I would have been happier with a little bit more of a brownish color, but we'll see how this is gonna turn out. I'm trying to do some details on this mountain, because it's just a flat mountain, and I kind of wanted to do some details there, because you can see details inside a mountain if it's even if it's flat and way in the background, but you can still see, especially at sunset and any other time, you can see little trees or the division of the fields. You can definitely tell that there is things going on that mountain. So I'm doing these little teeny tiny details. I'm trying to be extremely non-generic, extremely non-precise, but very generic. So it doesn't, details are not supposed to be too detailing, especially if they're in the background. They just have to give you like an impression of that there is something going on, like these trees here. But don't try to make it too perfect, because then it looks funny. It's better to leave it to the imagination. I'm also doing the second part of this hill with adding some details, so it looks a little bit better. But maybe one criticism that I'm gonna give myself, which is extremely important to be critical of your art, is that blue is just way too blue. What do you think? Put it in the comments. It's way too blue, and it should have been, because everything else is on the brown yellow side because of the sunset, and now suddenly there is a blue mountain. So I might actually correct this later. I might stretch a little veil of yellow, and hopefully that's gonna fix it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope I didn't bore you too much. I'll see you in the next one.